This is QiQ, the question in question. Brought to you by TherapyBites Art Lab. Here to take a bite out of modern-day pseudo-psychological psycho-malarkey. Now entering the Art Lab studio, today's T-Ballers, a collection of fellow strugglers, confronting personal challenges, navigating precarious relationships, and tackling trauma. Humans like each of us, juggling difficult human emotions, each here with unique life experiences, lived stories, and questions we'll bite into that just might help you too. And now, entering the Art Lab studio for the 9,880th time is the host of TherapyBites QiQ, Doc Heath.
Hey guys, welcome to QiQ. Thank you for joining us. I apologize. We're actually running about, gosh, what is it, 4 minutes behind. Don't you hate it when the host is running behind? I had a few more things to get in order, a few switches to toggle, an emergency phone call that just happened a minute ago. I appreciate you guys' patience. Let's go ahead and go to the board, and we will get started this evening as we review our categories for the question in question. This is Couch Crumbs Quotes. I've got a good one for you this evening with a blast from the past. Creature feature. We use these concepts to teach psychological concepts. Social media smackdown. We take on some, well, many Kool-Aid drinking psycho-malarkey things on social media. Fresh from the therapy couch. Couch Crumbs is our newsletter, and Nero, which is also called Psych Secrets. And we'll go to the board. And our first one is for 400 Psy coins, and I'm going to put that up in the chat and move it over. Hey, did I say thanks for being here? I'm glad you guys are here. Gosh, I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad I can make it. Aren't you glad I could make it? See, we're on the air right back there. Let me go to my timer here, and I'll pull it over there one more time. And one of my favorite quotes, the person who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow. And you know, there is not a better day for me to hear that than today. From the time I got out of bed this morning, it has been one, what should we call it? Challenge. There we go. One challenge, one hurdle after another. And what do you do when you run into hurdles in life? What do? You train to jump higher. Isn't that the great thing about hurdles? You train to jump higher. And if you can do it with some Aristotle, all the better. But that is not Aristotle. And there's a little bug crawling on my leg. That's why I was looking down there. Thanks to a lady. What is squashing? I have a bug. I'm not going to squash the bug. I think it's a ladybug. I hope it's a ladybug. I hope it's not a brown recluse. We have those. Those aren't good for you. The actual question is, who is Friedrich Nietzsche? Or some people say Nietzsche. Friedrich Nietzsche. And I'll put that up there so you guys can see that. Who is Nietzsche? Well, Nietzsche, interesting guy. A lot of people don't like Nietzsche. He was evidently an atheist. That's too bad. I'm not an atheist, by the way. I'm a believer. But Nietzsche was actually a nice guy. He was actually very well liked. He was very reclusive, but very courteous, very respectful. A lot of people demonize him. But he came up with a lot of ideas, a lot of neat ideas. Let's go back to the board, and we'll pick our other category for the day. And by the way, what can you do with the Psy coins that you win? You can redeem those for merchandise and cups and hats and stickers and all kinds of cool stuff. For 200 Psy coins from Recruiter Corner, and I'll put it up on the screen to make it so much easier for you guys. And here we go, and we'll take a quick break after this just to get some important, or we think it's important information up on the board. And guess what? Oh, wow, look at that. That is our T-ball triple, and we'll be back.
If you are a fellow human struggling with difficult emotions, a fracturing relationship, parenting problem, mental health difficulty, have a psychotherapy from hell story to tell, or a challenging life experience question, and would like to share your story by stepping up to bat as a T-baller, either register by texting QIQ to 1-870-686-4196 and join our Therapy Bites community, or send a postcard with your name, address, phone number, email address, and age to the address on the screen. Therapy Bites QiQ, P.O. Box 1391, Jonesboro, Arkansas 72403 1391.
Okay, and the question is, and goodness, I think it was almost in the actual answer, wasn't it? But this is called, and I'll put it up there in the chat just so you'll know, no in-between thinking, all or nothing thinking. I also call that underthinking, because you're thinking it's got to be this way or that way. And what I was really looking for is underthinking. If you're thinking it's all this way or all that way, you're missing other important aspects of the situation. And in the art lab, we call that underthinking. And by the way, that's something that you can do when you have struggles. And today for me has been kind of a day of struggles, and I'm not going to make you a big long list of them. I'll keep that to myself because we have more important things to do. But people often ask, what do you do in your life? Well, what I do in my life, I have a secret formula, and it's a simple question. I simply ask myself, what's next? If I really can't do anything about what just happened in terms of stopping it or undoing it, I just ask what's next. What's the next thing to do? I got some unfortunate news a few minutes ago. What's next? I have lots of things to do before bedtime tonight. What's next? And there's always something next. There's always something next. If you start catastrophizing and making a list of all the things going wrong, well, you can't take care of all those things. But you can't take care of one thing at a time. And I encourage you guys, try that. Just, what's next? I guarantee you there's always an answer to that. Go back to the board here. We are going to do Social Media Smackdown for 600 Psy coins. And if you win those, you can add those up and redeem them for some cool stuff in the Art Lab store. And yes, I'm talking while I'm putting this in the chat so that I can go to our timer and bring it on the board. The fallacy of using reputation or celebrity as a qualification for proving the usefulness of a product or the accuracy of the claim. You should use this product because, well, I'm famous. Or I know that this is the candidate to vote for because, well, I'm a celebrity. Or this is the proper medication for you. Do I use it? Probably not, but since I'm a celebrity, I'm telling you to use it. Or I'm on social media and I have 1 million followers, so you should think this way. And what is the question? What is the question? And we have 17 seconds left to go. Be very careful getting your information that designs your living, how you live, the choices you make, the thoughts you think, whether to be in a relationship or not, from social media. Social media these days seems to have gotten into the belief that human beings are disposable. I reject that. I encourage you to reject that too. How quickly do you want somebody to dispose of you? And our high value targets, toxic, gaslighting, calling people those names is a way of saying these people are disposable. They're not. Give up those terms. Get them out of here. Or not. You can believe what you want. You don't got to take my word for it. But what is the question here? And since we don't have any properly formatted responses right now, and since this is such a cool term, and it gets people fall prey to this a lot in both ways. They will say that since you're a celebrity you must know, or think since you're a celebrity you must know. But they'll also say if you're not a celebrity, people think if you don't have a lot of followers that you must not know what you're talking about, or even if you don't have a degree that you don't know what you're talking about. I have many degrees, and hopefully that, comes out and I learned a thing or two. But just because I have degrees, that doesn't mean that I'm authority on everything. I'm an authority in certain areas. I know what I'm talking about in certain areas, depending on the topic. But other areas, I have to defer to other people. But the proper question is, what is appeal to authority? The other thing is thinking that someone doesn't know what they're talking about is called an ad hominem. You're an idiot, you're a dodo head, you're a Republican, you're a Democrat, you're a liberal, you're conservative, therefore you must not know what you're talking about. That does not make your point. Let's go back to the board, and we will pick another category for today. And this is fresh from the therapy couch for another 400 PCs. And I will pull this up on the board, and we'll have a quick, whoops, I'm trying to grab it, folks. My fingers aren't as nimble as I would hope that they were, but I want to get that up there so that you can read it in the chat, and we will be right back.
If you plan on being in the local area of your podcast player app and would like complimentary tickets to the TherapyBites QiQ Art Lab studio audience, please search TherapyBites on your device and just smash that subscribe button. Your complimentary ticket grants you access to alerts so you'll never miss a show.
Okay, I'll pull it up on the board and see if anybody got that one correct. It's a very popular one. I think most people know what that is. Since we don't have any responses yet, the proper question is, what is claustrophobia? It's a common cognitive distortion. Some people call it a fear, but it's the distortion that creates the fear, not vice versa. It is the cognitive distortion that if a space is too small, I must not be safe. That's the distortion. And the belief that the space is so small I must not be safe is what creates the fear. How do we get rid of the fear? We don't worry about it. In therapy, we do not focus on the emotion. Therapists listening, stop focusing on the emotion. If you correct the cognition, or if you collaborate with your client or your patient to correct the cognition, the emotion take care of itself. And William says, I love that, William. That's awesome. That's one of my favorite words, contestifying. Contestifying, that'd be if you participate too many contests, contestifying. But that's contestifying. I think what William's trying to say is catastrophizing. Yes, the proper question is, what is claustrophobia? But claustrophobia is a type of catastrophization of small spaces. And by the way, something that a lot of clinicians out there may not know, that if someone has claustrophobia, it's not static. It's actually kind of dynamic and on a continuum. There are some small spaces, smallish spaces, that a client or patient may not struggle with, but other spaces they may. For instance, I've seen patients that struggle inside of an airplane, but they don't struggle inside of their own automobile if they're the ones driving it. Now go figure on that one. Okay, let's go back to the board here, and I'll put this up, and we'll take a brief break, and we'll be right back just as soon as I'm able to cut, copy, and paste so your brains can be working on this in the interim.
Premier accommodations for our T-Ball contributors provided electronically by the luxurious Art Lab Studio, overlooking the steaming cesspool of pseudo-psychological social media psychomalarkey, and located in cyberspace on your favorite podcast hosting platform, where we invite you to the most psychomalogically thrilling podcast in town, while you feast on our award-winning Psychologically-Nutritious buffet of TherapyBites cuisine, conscientiously cooked up by your hard-working T-Ball team chefs.
Okay, and we don't have any properly formatted responses for that just yet. And for you guys that are watching this and the replay, thank you so much. I know you can't be here with us in the evenings like this on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 o'clock, unless it's a holiday. We have one of those coming up, Independence Day, 4th of July, and where we celebrate, freedom, independence, Constitution. And I put a tweet up about that, this little tongue-in-cheek thing about our life and liberty. It talks about we have freedom of all kinds of things, and one of the freedoms we have is the right to be as miserable as we choose to be, which is why the ART Lab stands for Accurate, Realistic Thoughts, Life-Affirming Beliefs, and we're hoping that as you adopt those, your life will contain less misery. Let me get back over here to the question. The question for your brain, the answer is your brain has a biological clock that tells you when it's time to sleep and wake up. And the actual question is right there below, what is circadian rhythm? All mammals have a circadian rhythm, and that can be interrupted by differing light levels, by changing shifts at work, by flying across country in a jet airplane. That can interrupt that, but you can reset that. There's some great resources for doing that. But your brain really wants to develop a rhythm, so we recommend in the ART Lab that you pick a bedtime, that you honor that bedtime every night, that you get up at the same time every morning, that you start limiting light levels about 60 to 90 minutes before your bedtime. That tells your brain that you're preparing to sleep. Try that out. You might see that really changes your life. And once again, thank you guys for joining us this evening. Share this out to somebody that might need some psychologically nutritious information. We will be back again Thursday at 7 o'clock. And, of course, this weekend, Saturday morning for Executive Espresso, streaming live through YouTube as well as Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Thank you for joining us. We will catch you next time. Bye-bye, guys.
Next time on Therapy Bites Art Lab QiQ, Doc Keith and T-Ball callers face off against steaming piles of pseudo-psychological psychomalarkey directly from your favorite social media platforms, or perhaps from the psychotherapy couch of a pill-pushing, emotion-demonizing, bobble-headed, woo-woo clinician who fed their kooky Kool-Aid to you. This is Art Potto speaking. Therapy Bites QiQ is a Dr. I'm a Floydnot production. Distributed by the Therapy Bites Art Lab Podcast.